one thing in Korn that sounds like anybody. They're themselves, and it's because they come from beyond the wall and go inside behind it, which to me is a truest, purest form of artist. And it gives bands permission to, and all people permission to be themselves, you know, and go that far inside and not be afraid of doing it. And to me, that's God.
With a small record company advance, Korn set about recording their first full-length studio album at Indigo Ranch Studios, an all-analogue facility located in the picturesque setting of the Malibu Hills. Far from being a lush pastoral snapshot in sound, the resulting monster of a self-titled debut album was released in October 1994. Going straight for the jugular, the music Korn had put to disc was totally brutal in nature. Sludgy, nasty, basic, riff-laden heavy metal, replete with clever lyrics covering all manner of unsavoury topics. Jonathan Davis's unusual vocal style varied between singing, half-rapping and breathless shrieking. No one knew what to label them. The world of music journalism sure didn't, and critics seemed downright annoyed by the idea of these 5 screaming freaks upsetting their set preconceptions of what genre Korn should neatly fit into. The music was too cool, so it wasn't traditional metal. It was far too white, so it wasn't hip-hop. It was too heavy-handed, so it wasn't alternative. Ironically, the cathartic rage and rhythmic pulse of Korn's debut saw Korn dubbed in the music press unimaginatively as a funk metal act. What really was on offer was something quite unique. Are you ready? With that question, an inquiry that began as a growl and ended as a frenzied scream, singer Jonathan Davis provided a fitting beginning to the searing collection of relentless metalized thrash funk. His question was well posed. This wasn't music for the faint of heart. Korn and their producer Ross Robinson had found a sonic formula that worked wonders. Just start with a layer of fuzz-soaked guitar, add some big ballsy beats, and finish the whole lot off with a healthy dose of tortured vocals on top. This was dark music, scary music. Ball tongue with its stop-start syncopation, tinny guitar whine, and stripped down to the bone verse structure was a perfect encapsulation of the Korn style. The track also contained a trace of hip-hop flavour, not that Korn were about to become worldwide dance floor chart sensations. Far from it. Their assault was severe, fueled with explosive bursts of guitar a la early Metallica, as well as frenetic tempo changes reminiscent of crossover rockers' Faith No More. Within its grooves were lyrical themes of frustration and alienation. Through songs like Divine, where guitar and drums intertwined to form a sinewy, intricate rhythmic pulse, and Fake, in which Davis's voice alternated between a dreamy sing-song and a demonic roar, Korn amply displayed both their musicianship and their rage. But the disc's most startling moment was exemplified in the track Daddy, in which the farthest reaches of human cruelty and depravity were held up and judged by an abused child, beginning with a haunting surprise and ending in an emotional meltdown, a final purge, with Davis sobbing, screaming, "You ruined my life." When Daddy was recorded, the singer became so emotional when laying down his vocal part, he ended up walking out of the studio. Luckily, the sound engineer left the tape rolling. To date, Daddy has only been performed live once, a performance that also proved too much to handle for the Korn frontman. Apart from the insight and awareness of their music, the band also developed an extremely fashionable visual sense, in that they became a sportswear manufacturer's wet dream. Decked out in flashy Adidas gear, here was a band who looked like they were so concerned about street cred they needed no encouragement to wear not just the trainers, but the entire athletic wardrobe. As the underground buzz on the band grew steadily, Korn began to build a large loyal fan base of alienated small-town teen fans. Although they were largely ignored by many music critics who wrote them off as weirdos, Korn were adored by skaters, punkers, and a great many disenchanted youths who could relate to the quintet's fierce, ferocious music and lyrics. Though its sales were only moderate at first, during its first week of release it only chalked up sales of just over 1,000 copies, Korn's self-titled debut was to be a sleeper that snuck up on unsuspecting audiences some 6 months after its release to become something of a hit. Propelled largely by MTV's regular late-night airing of the descriptive video to Blind, the only song that received a modicum of media attention, and further bolstered by the quintet's relentless live touring schedule of 18 straight months out on the road, both in small clubs and in larger venues, that included stints alongside acts such as Ozzy Osbourne, House of Pain, Biohazard, KMFDM, Megadeth, Sick of It All, Danzig, Marilyn Manson and 311, by the end of 1995 the album had sold some 300,000 copies. Constant touring had put them into the charts as part of metal's new guard, but then that was no surprise. Even before the release of their debut album, Korn's dedication to live work was impressive with over 200 shows. The album eventually gave them their long-awaited commercial breakthrough, and saw Korn cited in Billboard magazine as the first debut hardcore rock act to top the Heatseekers chart and one of the first to crack the upper half of the Billboard 200 in over 2 years. By 1996, some 24 months after its release, sales had reached platinum status. From here on in, the group's popularity was to spread around the globe like a virus. To date, sales of Korn's debut album have exceeded more than 1 million units.